November 1st, 1960, in Navajo, Sonora, Mexico, Fernando Venezuela was born. At just 19 years old, he would break into the major leagues on September 15th, 1980, with the Los Angeles Dodgers. His official rookie season wouldn't start until 1981, though. It was on opening day, April 8th, 1981, when scheduled starter Jerry Ruiz suffered an injury while warming up. It was then manager Tommy Lasorda who called Venezuela to let him know that he would be pitching opening day in what would be one of the largest crowds in many years at Dodger Stadium. The young Venezuela would go on to pitch a complete game shutout. That's right, he didn't give up one run in his first start against the Montreal Expos. What would follow over his next 7 starts was one of the most astonishing 8-game stretches in Major League Baseball. Venezuela won each start and went the distance every time, including 5 shutouts, 4 double-digit strikeouts, and he carried a .5 ERA. Not too shabby. Venezuela helped carry the Dodgers to a World Series title that year, while being the first pitcher to win Rookie of the Year and Cy Young in the same season. Venezuela had become so popular that at the time, a phenomenon known as Fernando Mania began sweeping the nation. Attendance at away games were averaging 9,000 fans more. He became a cultural icon to the Latino community in the United States and a hero for his home country. He ended up spending 11 seasons with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But for the man whose nickname was El Toro, the Bull, his baseball career did not end there. With 17 years in the big leagues, he would play for 6 different clubs with immaculate career stats. He ended up with 2,074 strikeouts, 173 wins, and an ERA of 3.54. You can still listen to Fernando today, as he is on the Spanish broadcast team for the Los Angeles Dodgers. As we look at Dodger Stadium today, it can't be understated the impact that Fernando had on the Latino community and his relationship with the Dodgers, because it wasn't always warm and fuzzy like it is today. Friday, May 8th, 1959, or what would become known as Black Friday to the residents of Chavez Ravine. Officers walked up, kicked in the doors, and forced the families onto the street. Children wailed, elderly were escorted out. One woman was even seen dragged, kicking and screaming by the deputies. Averna, 66-year-old matron of the family, was throwing rocks at the sheriffs as they came to her house before Dodger Stadium was built. It was once 3 neighborhoods filled with Latino residents. Back in the 1950s, the city had initially began taking over Chavez Ravine's land and told residents that it would be used for public housing, that those residents would not be displaced. But that all changed when Norris Polson, a conservative Republican, entered the mayoral race in Los Angeles and ran on an anti-public housing campaign using Red Scare tactics. He was elected mayor. The public housing project quickly fell through. The families were displaced, and the neighborhoods were quickly bulldozed for Dodger Stadium. This put a major fracture between the Latino community and the Dodgers organization at the time. Some of the grandchildren, those who lived in the neighborhood, started Buried Under the Blue, which is an organization that wants to preserve the history of Chavez Ravine, the neighborhoods that are buried underneath Dodger Stadium today. There on social media, you can see the forgotten communities, including the residents and the resistance to the city possession of their homes. But more importantly, it shows the Chavez Ravine, which the city had called slums in the 1930s, as a tight-knit community of over 1,000 flourishing families, many of which were Latino. If it wasn't for people like Fernando Venezuela and many others to come through Dodger Stadium, those wounds may have never been healed. Now please enjoy this conversation we have on Fernando Mania.
Good morning. Welcome to another Conversations with your friendly neighborhood black guys. We are here today for Hispanic Heritage Month.
I'm Kyosha Taylor.
I'm Keenan Mose.
And we are here joined by one of my good friends, my mentor in a way, Daniel Rodriguez. Tell him a little bit about yourself.
Name's Daniel. Work over at Los Altos High School. Work in special education. Also varsity baseball coach. Exclusively work on the hitting side of it. I'm excited to share my stories with these gentlemen here.
You know, for this month, it's talking about like how sports have kind of helped to build different communities, right? And for Black History Month, we kind of covered through 100 different years of stuff. And we started in the 40s, and we covered Jackie Robinson, and we talked a lot about the influence they had, not just in like desegregating sports, but also allowing community to have another avenue through sport. And so for this month, it's looking at what Latino players we have for baseball and the impact they had there as well.
So, growing up, you played all sports, but in baseball, who did you look up to?
For me, it was Fernando Venezuela. I'd say my first like love for baseball came. My neighbor and his dad were big Dodger fans. You know, my parents were immigrants from Mexico. His parents were immigrants from Mexico, and that's really when I started liking baseball. And I had posters, and his dad had posters all in the garage with Fernando, and he would just talk about like going to the games in the '80s. And I was born in '82. But I remember just this last summer going to visit my family in Guadalajara, and my uncle telling me a story of how he called my dad and said, "Hey, let's go meet in Houston. We're gonna go watch Fernando pitch." And just to hear those type of stories, like really, you know, it was awesome to go like, okay, it makes you be proud about your heritage and what you are and where your roots come from. You know?
Yeah. So what was it about him though that like you connected to?
I think it's Mexican. I think at that time to see someone that actually looked like you, right? I think at those times there wasn't really a lot of Latino players, especially Mexican players. Now that they're all over the place, right? You got Colombian players, you got Puerto Rican, Dominican, but I think having a Mexican player that looked like you, having the same culture, was huge, and especially in Los Angeles where the Mexican community is enormous. So I think that's what made me fall in love with it.
So Dodger Stadium, you talked a little bit about like how Fernando was so big to the Latin community out there, but at the same time, that same community before he had arrived hated the Dodgers in Los Angeles, which today is kind of crazy to think about, right?
Oh, definitely.
When you go to Dodger Stadium, they got mariachi bands in the outfield, like when you tailgating outside, like you know, there's Mexican music playing everywhere. You know, it's a great time. It's a fiesta, right? But it wasn't always like that. Dodger Stadium was built on a community that was largely Latino and largely Mexican.
Yeah, Chavez Ravine.
Yep, Chavez Ravine. So they kicked those people out of their homes, literally dragged families out of their homes.
They did.
And so, what do you think it took? But I know it took people like Fernando, but what else do you think it took for the Dodgers to kind of heal those wounds of the Mexican community?
I think time, right? I think you can never disregard what happened in history. I think you have to look back and, you know, you feel bad for those people. You know, it was a bad situation, but I think time heals a lot of wounds, and I think now, like you said, what are they doing now to enhance or give back to Mexican community? You see it, whatever. You go to the bars, what do they serve there? Mexican style food, Mexican style drinks, bringing the mariachi bands, like all that stuff. So I think they know what their clientele is, and they have to promote that and bring those people back in, you know. But again, the people now that are fans didn't grow up back in those times, so they really, maybe one, they don't know the history, and two, it's just they're over it, right? But again, we should never forget about what happened to those people, because it's very important in history.
Yeah, I mean, you also then have all the famous Latino players that have come through Dodger Stadium, right, and given you some of the greatest moments, like Fernando's no-hitter, for example, right, and his first 9 starts were freaking unbelievable. He had, 4 shutouts before, was it April?
It was amazing, you know, and then leading us to the World Series. And
We ain't got to talk about that.
Funny thing is, I don't even know that much about, you know, like I'm learning a lot about baseball, and I was watching videos to do my research, and my dad walks in the room, doesn't even see the TV, and then he goes, "I hate that guy." And I mean, as a Giants fan, okay, I understand, like growing up, you're having someone who's that influential, that good, that this many years later, just hearing his voice on TV and hearing them talk, immediately knows who he is. And as someone who hates that team, that's pretty big that he still remembers who that is and the impact that he's had this many years later. That's really big.
Tell the people a little bit like what you do and what you're running right here in our very own community.
Yeah, so again, I've been coaching at Los Altos back since 2008. My first and my second stint started back in 2015. Once I became the varsity hitting coach, I was trying to figure something else that I can give back to the community and grow something. And I started this thing called the Lab Hitting, which is a hitting program. Ranges from kids 12 to 18 years old. Trying to teach them professional techniques, but again, it's not just the physical part of it; it's the mental side, and how to deal with adversity. The spiritual side of it, how to clear your mind, staying in the moment. So we run clinics and camps on a weekly basis. But yeah, just trying to get these kids in the community to love baseball again more than they were when we grew up, and just making better baseball players.
I'll tell you right now, like
I've helped out at a few of them, and his camps don't look like your average like Los Altos camps. He actually has kids who aren't just white at them. It doesn't look like a,
There's music.
yeah. No, he be slapping like all the good, all the clean.
Clean.
Clean lyrics,
hip-hop.
but yeah, no.
And we do reggae, we'll do rock. It depends on the day. I let the kids pick whatever they want, but it has to be clean.
Yeah, but you know, they're learning more than just, you know, how to swing a bat.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up. We were talking earlier before we started the interview about being kind of the only person that looked like us on the team and the importance of having someone else there. But what was it like growing up? Like, were there a lot of other Latino players?
Yeah, because that was the connection you and me had a little bit. Like when you started coaching me, I was the only black kid on the team. So what was it like being the only?
I was little league all the way to high school. I was the only Latino kid. I think there was one black kid my senior year, but it was difficult, man, because you know, you're different, right? And I think the thing that always bothered me the most was like being called whitewashed. It's like, what does that actually mean? Because I don't speak with an accent, I speak proper English. Why do I get that label, right?
Because I grew up like you.
Yeah, I grew up like them. It's like, but if you go to my house, my mom's speaking Spanish, my dad's speaking Spanish, you know, I got my brother, like, you know, our cultural roots are in Mexico. Like I said back earlier in the interview, that my whole family's in Mexico. So that always just really bothered me. And I want kids to understand to never feel bad about where they're from and what their culture is. I think that's the hardest thing. And then on the flip side, you know, with my Latino friends, they'd say the same thing. You're not Mexican enough, you're whitewashed. So I was getting it from both sides. So especially being, you know, coming from a family of immigrants, you try to find that middle ground, and it's super frustrating as a kid, right? You're always trying to figure things out. And I think once you become an adult, you start not like, you don't care. It's like, you know what? I am who I am. I'm gonna listen to the music I listen to. I'm gonna speak the way I speak. But I think kids need to understand, like, don't be proud of who you are and where you're from.
Definitely. Well, what'd you call yourself? You got that one picture of you and like the other Mexican kid, I think the other black kid.
Oh, the LM. Yeah, so my buddy George Brunson, black dude, and then my other buddy Joe Davis, Filipino. We're like the only minorities on the team. We'd call ourselves the LM because we're the only lefties on the team. We'd call ourselves the lefty minorities. I do have that picture still, yeah.
Right on.
I feel like as a larger thing, we focused a lot on baseball and the impact that different players have had and how that's helped to grow things. But as a month in general, because I know, you know, we spend a lot of time on Black History Month and its importance, and both like look at the history but celebrate, and like what does Latino Heritage Month mean to you?
I think it's super important. I mean, my culture, man. Like, my parents are immigrants from Mexico, and they, you know, speak the language, know all the foods, know how to read and write. I think it's just super important to be able to embrace that. You know, I have 20 uncles and aunts. None of them live here. They all live in Mexico, right? So when I go back, it's like I love it, right? But I also hate it because I don't have it in front of me, right? Like Thanksgiving's not the same. You know, Christmas is not the same. So I miss that part of it. But it's so important to be able to celebrate our culture, because it's, you know, as the years have gone by, you see the population of Latino, it's probably going to be by 2030 probably the biggest population in the United States, you know. But I think it's important to celebrate our culture and, you know, what we have given to this country. I think a lot of it is we are at the back of this America, right? We do all the jobs nobody wants to do. Clean, cook, it's all the blue collar, the construction, you know, electrician, like jobs
farming.
nobody wants to do. We do them, man. The farmers, you know, you got to give, you got to celebrate that stuff, you know. And sometimes I don't think they get their due.
They don't. I mean, there's a giant march right now, basically, through the entire Central Valley to
Sacramento,
because farmers are protesting their working conditions, and it's barely gotten any news coverage.
Let's see, if you think about, we had a week where it was about 105 every day here, which means if you're talking about more in the Central Valley areas, that's 110 plus, and they're still working from sun up to sundown every single day in not very good conditions. And so that's what the march, I mean, constantly was trying to help out with and expand rights on. But we were just talking about celebrating, so I want to touch on that a little more first. What do you do to celebrate this month? Like, is there anything special that you like to do yourself, or does it just kind of carry on?
Nothing really special that I do, but I think when it comes to Mexican Independence Day,
What day is that? For people who
September
don't know.
15th, 16th. Look it up. So you can put that
It's
down.
the 15th.
15th to the 15th.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, I celebrate it. I don't do anything outrageous, or I go party or anything like that. But I just, you know, I take a moment of silence and like just appreciate my roots and where I came from. So that's been my influence in my life. that's where I get my work ethic. My mama.
Yeah, no, I mean it's true because there's a lot. That's why like I and like JB worked so hard to get ethnic studies because it's that what you're talking about. You know, like minorities built this country and then they get blamed for all of its problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't understand that one. This used to be Mexico.
100%.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
where are all these Mexicans from? Like, they were just here. Like, they were living here.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's why it's so important that, like, we actually understand our roots, understand, well, not just our roots, each other's roots, and kind of learn to appreciate it, and then we'll have, I feel, a much better future going forward because we'll actually understand and respect one another.
I just don't think that's good. Ethics is awesome. I mean, I think when I grew up, you talk about like something like Thanksgiving. What did they say? Columbus came. They had a picnic. And that was it. And that's what I thought the whole time. And as I get older, you get to college and you start like really reading and researching. The internet comes out.
I know.
And you have social media outlets, and you're like,
They did what in Tulsa?
Yeah, that's not yeah, exactly like Tulsa. I saw an interview with Tom Hanks the other day, and he's like, I didn't know that about that till 2 years ago. Tom Hanks is 60-something years old.
Yeah.
It's like that's terrible. And it's like we have to. There's again, it's an ugly truth. But it's okay, like that. We have to learn the history of things. There's history for everything. We talk about World War I, and then we talk about all this stuff, right? Why don't we talk about that? We talk about civil rights. That's all we talk about. Black history is 1960. About what happened 300-400 years before that.
Right. They act like the civil rights movement fixed everything.
All right, with two little things. You got MLK, Rosa Parks. Woo, done.
Well,
That's all you learn.
It's not a coincidence either, and it's not just like they do this with Latinos. They do this with Black people. They only celebrate the ones that are dead because they can't rebuttal.
Also, the ones that have the lighter skin for both Latinos and for Blacks and just in general, it's a big push that he's light skinned, so we can uplift and celebrate it more because his image looks better.
They don't understand. There's no MLK without Malcolm X.
Yep.
So what you got down the pipeline in the world of Daniel?
Right now, so we're in today's October 1st. Last September, October, November, all of December we'll be running hitting clinics 3-4 times a week. Sign up. You know, if it's can't afford it, reach out. More than happy to help out. I think future goals moving forward, you know, is looking to advance myself with professional baseball. So I'm looking to be a head coach at the varsity level, or even be a hitting coach at the college level. So I'm always looking to advance and do better things in the sport. So.
Right on.
So the clinics have been running right now, the last.
That's right, yes, in September. So
Cool. So we should probably try to go out there and get a little some B-roll of some people batting, some cool stuff going there, and you could probably use that stuff too. Yeah. And we'll shout out all your stuff on here and the stuff that you're doing. But
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you taking the time, celebrating this month with us, and you know, sharing the history, sharing some knowledge, having some convo with us. So
No, man,
you,
I've known you guys for a while, especially I've known you since you were freshman, sophomore in high school. You guys have done awesome stuff. I followed you guys and all the Justice Vanguard stuff that you've done, man. Keep it going. I think, again, there's gonna be people your age, I mean, 12, 13, whatever, and they're gonna look up to you guys and say, these guys are doing good work, and they're gonna want to be like you guys one day. Exactly what we talked about, you know, someone that looks like me. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope, you know, I hope there is gonna be a kid one day that looks at me and the way I look at you, like, damn, your hair got gray as shit.
I'll be so mad when that day comes, because I already got grays too.
Look, I'm probably responsible for half both of y'all's gray hairs.
Yes.
Well, I'm 25.
Oh, man, that was a good year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but also thank you to everyone who's tuning into this. Remember, we are just one source of information and education, so make sure you're going out and learning more stuff as well. We'll add some other Instagram accounts and things that you guys can look at to expand upon, you know, the Latin Heritage Month and you know, the impacts through sports and other things as well. Maybe there's some movies, some books to check out. Do your own research as well.
Come to our movie nights.
Come to our fucking movie nights.
We're gonna be doing kind of a couple team up movies hopefully in the near future. So find out. Keep in touch. All right. Be good, people.
Peace.